So it is the 30th of June 2020 and I'm your host for this live chat on the MMA Movement YouTube channel. My name is Rob, and if you don't know who I am, that means you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, but you can quickly fix that by just clicking the subscribe button below. And while you're down there, you might as well hit the little notification thing, the bell, because then you won't miss all our stuff. And if you don't recognise that man, and it's not just for the accoutrement on his eyeballs, his name is Sean Taylor and he is the co-host of this show. Sean, how are you?
I'm alright, man. Had to get the specs. I was spending too much time looking at screens at home, working from home and watching telly, so I was getting headaches.
Yeah.
It isn't good.
It's
I
not
bought
good.
these for 20 quid on Amazon.
Yeah, I might have to get a pair myself, but I do use the program called FLux, which removes the blue light from your screen and stuff like that, so it seems to help me, but I don't think it's really good looking at screens all day, but that's all I do as well, which is unfortunate. If you don't know how this show works, it's easy. It's called a live chat because we take your questions and we talk about anything and everything MMA, but we do have some stuff we want to talk about as well, and I'm sure this is something that everybody else wants to talk about. It's the fights on the weekend. Last weekend it was Dustin Poirier against Dan Hooker, potential fight of the year, probably one of the better fights of all time, and we can get into that discussion if people want to, but I'm going to go straight into the community tab, Sean, because we have some questions there, and of course if you want to get your questions in, put them into the live chat somewhere. I think it's on my right or something, I'm not sure exactly where it is, but get your questions in there and we'll try to get to them, get to as many of them as we can. Essentially one of the first questions was, I don't have it pulled up here but I'm going to pull it. It was that the greatest fight of the year, talking about Dustin Poirier and Dan Hooker? And I'll let you go first on this one, Sean. I'll put you on the spot. Was it the best fight of the year? Go for it.
And no, but it's a very close second.
Oh, okay.
I think there's a lot of recency bias with people picking it as fight of the year. I think the recency bias is real. I think for me, Weili and I was about to say Weili and Zhang, but Weili and Joanna, I think for me is fight of the year. Still.
I'd probably agree with that. I mean, there's a few candidates out there, right? So for me, Weili Zhang and Ian Jacek is the top fight of the year. Women's or otherwise, I just think it was a fantastic fight. I do agree to some recency bias because of like how recent it was and stuff, but that was a great fight on the weekend. And to be honest, like, it might grow on me. And when I got further down the line, maybe I'll look at it, and because I feel like with recency bias, you almost want to take something away from it that maybe you shouldn't be taking away from it, because you're like, I don't really want to put it there because it's been so close. But maybe after a few weeks or a few months, I'll be like, actually, do you know what? In hindsight, that was a better fight. But right now,
sit for a while.
Yeah, but right now it probably sits as maybe 3, probably 2. Then you have Ferguson Gaethje, which was phenomenal too. Although that was probably more of a bigger beatdown than anything.
Yeah.
Luque Price, their second fight was this year,
probably
I believe.
Mention,
yeah, well, that was in May. That gets a mention from me, but I'd like to hear everybody else's suggestions because there was some good fights this weekend.
You put me in the spot there, Rob. I'll put you in the spot. Do you want to order your fights of the year then from those candidates that you mentioned?
Okay, I will. Sure, Sean. Thanks. I'm gonna go with Weili Zhang, Joanna and Jacek number 1. Number 2, I'm gonna go Poirier. I got a Poirier fight from the weekend. Okay. Then I will go Ferguson Gaethje, and then actually Felder versus Hooker was this year. Yeah.
I forgot that. Do you know I actually forgot that was this year until someone mentioned it the other day.
I'd probably put
so long ago.
I'd probably put that in number 3. I'd probably put Ferguson Gaethje number 4. It was an incredible fight, but it was in the end it was a beatdown, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd love to hear other people's. But give me yours now, actually.
I'll go Weili and Joanna number 1. I'll go Poirier and Hooker number 2. I'll give you Emmett and Burgos number 3, and then number 4 I'll go Gaethje and Ferguson.
That's fair. Similar reason, a bit of a beatdown.
Yeah, just the beatdown. I mean, the stakes were high enough that you could maybe put it above Emmett and Burgos. But yeah, it's kind of one-sided in the end, doesn't it?
Yeah, but
and I think what will count against Emmett and Burgos is that 3 rounds and the stakes weren't as high as say the other 2 fights that I have above.
Yeah, all incredible fights, and a lot of them have happened in what people are calling the pandemic era, which is what it's gonna be known as the pandemic era. Which I don't know, small cage, yeah. I don't know. Could it be because there's so much on the line? Dana White is saying so many people are watching the fights and there's so much interest. I don't know. Like perhaps there is, but or maybe it's just a coincidence. Who knows? But it's some incredible matchups and incredible fights over the last couple of months. But in terms of that question, just a similar kind of twist on it. Where does it rank as an all-time great fight? It's kind of hard to talk about that question because there's so many fights in scope there.
It's such a tough question. You kind of have, if you were to genuinely try and have a discussion around it, I think you'd have to narrow it down to some like components that you would want in there, like is a title on the line or non-title fights and stuff. But I mean, it's definitely up there as one that I'll be rewatching. You know, I love a dogfight where they just go to war for 25 minutes. So it's definitely one that I'll be rewatching. At some point, like I text Rob now and again, and I'll just say, yeah, rewatch this absolute dogfight, like Lawler McDonald or Gastel Madesanya, stuff like that. So this is one that I'll probably be rewatching pretty soon, or as soon as it's on Fight Pass.
Yeah, I absolutely will be rewatching it, especially that second round. That second round was incredible. Immense. Probably the best round of the year, right?
Immense,
yeah.
And like, if you wanted to be really nitpicky about the fight, like if you want to be really nitpicky,
Sean, what are you doing?
There was a bit of time spent on the ground and stuff. That's like if you want to be. I'm not taking away from either fighter or what they did, but like
this is MMA, bro.
I know.
Who are you, Mike Perry? Although speaking of Mike Perry, he actually looked good on the ground as well, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
As in, everyone thought Gall's chance of success was on the ground. Perry looked good, man.
Yeah, Gall's gas tank is non-existent, unfortunately. I'm going to jump into the live chat here because we have a few questions and stuff and a few comments on our timekeeping. A few reasons for the timekeeping. Sean was late as always. I'm only joking. Sean was on the ball. I can't find my earphones, so I was looking for that. And Sean's internet connection, as always, wasn't great. He switched to the phone now.
Rural internet. Hopefully the new government sorted out.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully. They're not my government. I'm only joking. Okay, let's jump into this one. George Maskell. Is the lightweight division actually the most stacked in the UFC? I looked at the rankings and how many could actually win the title compared to the countless threats to the actual strap at 135. Yeah, so I think for the most part people will say 155, 135, right? So I think the crux of that question is it the most stacked division in terms of who could actually win the title? And I think you could argue that maybe bantamweight is a little bit more exciting in a sense because I think there's more threats to the crown there. Obviously, there's no one with the crown at the moment, but there hopefully will be, soon enough. Unless that fucking Jose Aldo fight goes to a draw, which I wouldn't be surprised the way MMA has gone.
Gods might put it.
But in terms of actual excitement and maybe the number of contenders who could actually be champ, you're probably looking at bantamweight. But in terms of, I'd say, talent top to bottom, I think you got to go lightweight.
Like if you're looking at guys like Dustin Poirier, who the highest he's got is an interim title, fought for a title. Like if you put him in any other weight class, obviously at that weight, you would expect him to be pretty close to a title. Yeah. And there's multiple other guys like him. As Tony Ferguson, I mean, has never actually won anything other than an interim title, which is insane. If you put him, he's contending titles at that weight.
That was my argument for the 165, was it 160 or 160 pound division? Whatever they brought in. As in whatever the commissions considered. And my argument was that there's so many at welterweight, which someone mentioned in Sneb Rem actually mentioned 170 has been the most stacked for a while. And that's an argument as well. But there's so many at 170 and 155 that you could build a division between those two divisions and have absolute killers there. And my argument is that if you had a division in between those two and you had someone like Dustin Poirier or, I don't know, Stephen Thompson, someone who's kind of been just there but hasn't quite got there, if you had them as champion, but they didn't have the past that they had currently with losing to the champ at the other divisions, you'd be looking at them saying, oh my God, what would happen if these two champs fought? Like if Dustin Poirier fought Khabib, if they didn't fight already, And I think there's just so much talent there that you could build amazing divisions between those two divisions. It'd be incredible.
Yeah, I think Dana's argument for, like he said in the past, he's not going to do it because all you're going to get is the guys who can't win at 55 or 70 going to 65 or 60, whichever way you do it. I think that's a bullshit argument. The divisions are there's almost too much talent because the problem is the average sized man is roughly in there somewhere around that 55, 70 mark. or cutting to that. So there's almost too much talent, like, and the rosters are too big at those weights to actually give all the talent the opportunity to deserve. So you're just about giving opportunities to fighters, really.
Yeah, it's a silly argument because yes, you're right, but what's wrong with that? Like,
Yeah,
it's not like they're bad fighters.
Negative.
It's not a negative thing. Yeah, 2 minutes of Irish time.
Cowboy would have been.
Brilliant.
He was always the perfect example of a guy who loved 65.
Yeah. Sean thinking he's McGregor with those glasses. There you go, Sean.
No, they'd be a lot more expensive if I was McGregor.
Mitch
Gucci,
versus
pal, yeah, they'd be Gucci.
Gucci, yeah.
For Amazon only.
Zhang
McGregor
versus
orders
JJ
from
is
Amazon.
still number one according to Mitch C. Yeah, I think we could completely agree. Znebrim, the Borges fight was not on that level because there were so many deficiencies in technique. The other two fights are better. That's another kind of argument. I kind of agree. I don't know about technique because I think both of them have incredible technique, but that's another thing about the fights that have been contenders for the fight of the year this year. And one thing I love about them is that sure, they're brawls. They're like your type of fight, you know, blood, guts, sweat, tears, you know, all the stuff you love, guts.
Yeah.
More guts and blood, but they're also very technical. They're also really good fights. Like watching that fight on the weekend, there's so many people better than me to break it down, and I'm sure there's loads of breakdowns on YouTube and stuff. But watching that, there's so much you could look into in terms of technique, not just a complete brawl where the guys are chin up and hands down. You know, that often kind of get ruled as fight of the year.
I wanted to make the point about Hooker as well. I love watching those guys from City Kickboxing. Like, they're so interesting to watch with the feint and the little traps they set and stuff. They're so fun to watch.
Shin to shin though. He was kicking shin to shin. That was...
It's horrible.
I could feel it
gives
in
me
my bones.
Shivers, like. My favourite point of the fight was, I think it was going into the 5th round, and the coach asked Dustin Poirier, "You having fun in there?" And he was just like fucking having a blast, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's immense.
Here's a controversial...
Dustin was so consistent from the 1st round to the 5th. The drop-off was not big at all throughout.
Yeah. No, it's incredible.
So good.
Dustin Poirier is still kind of underrated for me.
Yeah.
And it's
fucking hard as well. Did you hear some of the thuds off them shots?
Yeah. It's incredible. But here is a statement that is probably a little bit controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway. For the longest time, right, we were talking about the Tony Ferguson versus Khabib fight, which, you know, I still am heartbroken that didn't happen and probably won't ever happen. But we were talking about Tony Ferguson being the boogeyman and being the guy at lightweight that we really wanted to see against Khabib. But after watching the run that Dustin Poirier has been on, I think under the radar, low key, Dustin Poirier has been that guy. Like, he should have been the guy that people were talking about. He's already fought Khabib, so that happened. But if you look at the murderer's row that he fought, it's way better than Ferguson. Like, I mean, Ferguson went on an incredible run, but, you know, in terms of actual ranked fighters, Dustin Poirier was the guy. I think Kevin Lee was the only guy that Ferguson fought at the time when he fought him who was ranked in the top 5, I believe, or top 10 maybe. I remember reading something like that.
I have Poirier's run here if you want to let me run through it.
Go for it.
I'm trying to figure out now where he moved to lightweight.
So Dustin, it was the Bobby Green fight, right?
Bobby Green, Joe Duffy's there as well. Joe Duffy. Probably at 55.
Oh no, it was way before that. It was the Diego Ferreira fight.
Was it straight after McGregor lost?
Yeah, because he went on that run. Yeah.
So we beat Diego Ferreira, Yancy Medeiros, Joe Duffy, Bobby Green, lost to Michael Johnson, beat Jim Miller, no contest with Eddie Alvarez, beat Anthony Pettis, beat Justin Gaethje, beat Eddie Alvarez, beat Max Holloway, lost to Khabib, beat Dan Hooker. I mean, it's a who's who of lightweight, really. Yeah,
it's an absolute who's who. And I actually have a graphic here. I don't know if I'll be able to share it. I might be able to share it over Sean's face for a second.
You can share a screen on Zoom anyway, but
yeah,
I don't know how it'll look on YouTube.
I don't know if you'll be able to see it now, but do you know what? I'll give this a go. Sean, you're going to be out of shot for a minute, but this might work. Perhaps it might work. Let's see. Can people see that? Kind of. Let me scroll this over. There we go. Yeah, you can kind of see it. So this was on Reddit. Somebody put this together and I thought it was really good. So it is the top fighters from lightweight and their resumes against the other top fighters at lightweight. And you
you've
look at
shown me a
Dustin
similar
Poirier.
graphic to this before. These are really cool.
Yeah, so you look at Dustin Poirier's run. You have Gaethje, the current interim champion, Hooker, of course, Ferreira, and then he lost to Habib and Conor. But then obviously you look at Kevin Lee. I was right. So Kevin Lee was the only other top guy that Ferguson fought and beat, and then obviously Justin Gaethje. And this is not taking anything away from Ferguson at all. He is the boogeyman. He is El Kukui. But I just think, Dustin Poirier, low key, was that guy. He should have been that guy that people were like, that's the guy that we need to see Habib fight.
Yeah.
Don't know if I fancy him in a rematch though.
I love how it says the Just Bleed division at the top there.
Yeah. It truly is.
That division is full of absolute murderers, man. You actually brought this tweet to my attention. I hadn't seen it. Luke Thomas tweeted during the fight or after it. He was like, how is this legal?
How is this legal? Yeah.
They kicked fuck out of each other for 5 rounds. It was insane.
It was an amazing fight.
And credit to Hooker as well. Hooker looked amazing the first couple of rounds. He looked amazing. Actually,
yeah, let's talk a little bit about Hooker because he's kind of been forgotten in this, but
he has,
absolute balls on him calling his shot against so many fighters, as in calling these big top fighters out. Puts in an amazing performance, probably won the first 2 rounds and then lost against an absolute dog. But in my mind, he didn't lose any stock. I just wonder if so many wars that he's had, like Dustin Poirier's had some wars, but at least Dustin Poirier got to the point where he was an interim champion and stuff. But he's had so many wars now, Dan Hooker, that I kind of hope that he takes some time off now. He doesn't jump back straight in.
I mean, another 30 seconds at the end of that second round, he might have got him out of there. Was it the second round? I think it was the second round, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, another 30 seconds there, he might have got him out of there.
Yeah. And his work to the body and the hooks up against the cage in that second round. Ooh. My man. Snebrem.
The noise of some of them shots.
Yeah, Snebrem. I versus Cavillo. Fight of the decade.
I seen that. I knew you'd like that comment.
Oh, baby. Tail of the tape. What did you all think of Bisping yelling from the commentary table at Poirier to watch his neck during the exchange on the cage? Yeah, I love
Michael Bisping.
You said this today, didn't you? And you said Luke robbed your idea because you wanted to talk about Michael Bisping's commentary.
I love Bisping on commentary. I think I might have said it to you a few weeks ago. I think he's class. I think he has the perfect mix of like being a fan but actually giving you good analysis as well while doing it.
Yeah. And he's also a treasure trove of dad jokes.
Yeah,
his dad jokes just amazing.
And then Luke tweeted it today, and I was like, for fuck's sake, and I'm just going to look like I'm nicking Luke's point. But it was me, really. Luke nicked my point. So
yeah, you were talking to Luke. You told him, go on, you can tweet it. I'll let you.
Yeah, I think Bisping, did you notice as well, Hooker had a couple of grind shots early on.
Listen to Bisping.
Listen to Bisping.
Yeah, I like Bisping too. My personal taste, I prefer the likes of your Dom Cruz, your Daniel Cormier's. I think Daniel Cormier and Bisping are almost like a meld. Do you know, like you have Daniel Cormier, you have Michael Bisping, and in between, you have on one end you have Dominic Cruz, on one end you have Michael Bisping, and then in between is Daniel Cormier. You kind of a mix of the two. But yeah, they're my style personally. But Bisping's good. I really enjoy Bisping. Very entertaining.
I love him, man.
But the question was,
can I actually raise something as well? Cruz was on commentary and Keith Peterson was reffing all night. You want to talk about that? Was that not a little bit awkward around the
Did you hear his reaction when he first got introduced, Keith Peterson?
No.
He goes, what does John Anik say? The no-nonsense Keith Peterson is the referee.
Peterson, yeah.
And then all you could hear was Cruz go, ooh. You could probably smell the smokes and cigarettes from his commentary desk. But anyway,
go on.
On to the question from Znebrem. Tell of the tape about Bisping shouting in certain situations, and the fighters can obviously hear them because Poirier said, listen to Bisping. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting one. I was thinking about that because there's been a few times where they were in certain situations that normally you hear the coach call out, especially in like grappling situations where when you have a bird's eye view, you can see a lot more or a lot easily what someone's going to do. Obviously, experienced guys know what people are going to do with their setups and stuff, but you can see it from a bird's eye view a different way. And a lot of the time, the commentators are very loud, calling for certain techniques that are going to happen, and the fighters on the defense can obviously hear them. So I don't know if they should really isolate the commentators, which in some ways it would be good for that reason, but in other ways it's like you can hear their passion because they're there cage side, so it would take away from the broadcast, I think. But it's definitely an interesting thing to raise. I'm not sure.
I like it. I don't have an issue with it. I mean, it's an empty arena.
Mm.
So like you can hear everything, good and bad.
Yeah, it's true.
And if a fighter wants to listen to it, they can listen to it. If they don't want to listen to it, they don't have to listen to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Luke raised the point. No, who was it? DC and Halwani raised the point that it might be worth. Sorry, someone came into the room there. DC and Alwani raised the point that Mike Perry going cornerless essentially with just his girlfriend. I mean, if you're ever going to do it, this is the fight. You'd Bisping and Cruz on commentary, like
yeah,
they're basically cornering you.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with it. It's not like it's up to fighters to adapt as they can in the cage there, and if that means listening to something that they hear, be it their coach or commentator, I don't really have an issue with it.
Yeah. I think that's fair because both guys can hear it, but
yeah, it's not like one guy can hear something that the other guy can't.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Unless like a Dom Cruz, not cornered fighter, but in his gym, was fighting, and then Dom Cruz start throwing out like, things that aren't actually happening to try confuse the other fighter.
Dom Cruz wasn't on this table and just shouting at Keith Peterson like,
yeah,
loser.
But yeah, get all your questions in the live chat. Make sure you like this video; it really helps us out. And as I said, we like this to be a two-way chat, or I guess three-way chat. We'll call everybody else, not me and Sean, number 3 on this podcast, and we like to chat with you. So the more questions and more comments you have, the better. But yeah, I have some more good questions here. And some comments. Alex Pearson, Dan fought amazing. I didn't expect that. Goes to show how good the top of the lightweight division is. Dan just isn't quite there. Also goes to show you how good Khabib and Conor are. That's true as well. Like Dustin Poirier is championship material, and he didn't get steamrolled by Khabib, but just about close enough. He
had a couple of like opportunities there, and like, had a couple of good patches, but
yeah, it was close enough. The Conor one, I think I do agree that. Looking at the level of skill in the division itself shows that the upper level guys are even better. But the whole Conor thing in terms of Dustin, I don't really take that into account anymore, really. That's too long ago.
Doesn't count.
But I would love to see that rematch.
I've said this a couple of times now for weeks.
You've been banging this drum for a while.
Yeah, I'd love to see that fight again. I think Dustin beats him.
Yeah, do you?
I think Dustin beats him, yeah.
Nice.
And maybe a bit of recency bias in that as well.
Recency bias.
I might have seen Dustin fight. Well, I've only seen him fight once since Conor last fought, but like Conor only fought for 40 seconds as such.
Yeah.
We didn't really learn that new about Conor in that last fight.
Yeah. I got to think about that one. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But they're two completely different guys, and it just doesn't go one way. Like everyone says, Dustin's a new guy, but Conor's also a different guy at lightweight and since.
What do you do with Dustin now? I mean, do you give him another war like that?
Dream match, you do Conor. If you could just
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, if you could just pick it, and Conor would do it, and like Dustin's gonna do it. But if you could just make it happen,
Conor does it. I'm not sure Conor sees the value in doing it. Conor probably looks at it that I've already beaten. What's the point?
But you know what? I feel like Dustin sort of not broke through a glass ceiling recently, but I think his celebrity has grown in a certain way, especially with all his charity stuff, and I think the UFC done a good job promoting that on the weekend. And if you look at, it doesn't really mean a whole lot, but if you look at all the celebrities who watched on the weekend and all the shine that Poirier will probably get from that, I don't know. I think Conor might look at it favourably in a certain sense, but I also think Conor's the type of guy who it seems like he doesn't like rematches at all, unless he lost the first one and he wants to get it back, which is natural, and I'm not going to say anything bad about that, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like Conor might see some value in it. Anyways, Tom Broom Jones in the community tab. I want to get to these as well before I get to all the chats in the live chat. Assuming Poirier is now front of the line for a title shot, could he realistically do anything to create a different outcome against Khabib? If Gaethje upsets Khabib, can Dustin replicate his first performance against Gaethje to finally be the king of lightweight? It's a good question. I don't see where he beats Khabib personally. No. He was still chomping on that guillotine choke that put him in trouble. Although, he had a close guillotine against Khabib, but it still put him in trouble against Khabib once Khabib figured it out. Poirier's amazing, man, but I just don't see where he beats Khabib.
Yeah. I think
unfortunately.
the only question mark from that fight is if he jumped guard on the guillotine. I think that's really the only thing. And
Yeah,
even then, you're not really sure whether he gets it or not.
yeah,
So you're kind of clutching at a straw there.
yeah.
I think he probably needs Gaethje to upset Khabib, but realistically, if Gaethje does that, Khabib gets the rematch straight away.
That's
And
true.
yeah, so I think you're looking at him. It's a title shot is a bit away from him, and personally for me, I think that's why the Conor fight makes the most sense if he can make it.
I agree. Yeah, I
And I
completely
think he
agree.
deserves that payday, that kind of big fight
Yeah,
like that.
I completely agree. I don't think it's impossible for him to beat Habib. I just don't. I wouldn't favor him at all.
Yeah.
The Gaethje one, that's a bit of a coin flip. I think Gaethje has made some huge improvements since that
I think
fight,
so.
but so is Dustin.
Can
I think
you
that's a coin
imagine
flip.
that fight again?
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
Whew.
Like, that is
Damn,
a
man.
run. That is
Damn,
a
son.
run and a half. Very serious question. It's now Brem. Could Sean beat Lattori Gonzalez in a wrestling match? Of course, Mike Perry's corner woman / girlfriend. Apparently, she has like 9 years of wrestling, Sean. So I'm not sure. She seems quite small,
Tell you
but
what, I wouldn't mind wrestling, no.
I think Mike Perry's watching. Watch yourself, bro. That was mad, though, wasn't it? Here's a question.
Wild.
Here's a question. Should the commission do anything about that? Like having somebody in the corner who clearly has no experience?
No. And do you know
No.
why? Because they do nothing about anyone else in the corner.
But
I mean, at what point? There's no regulations on who can. We had this discussion a couple of weeks ago. There's no regulations on who
should
can or
they?
can't be in a corner. No, there should be. But
Oh,
if there was regulations, she wouldn't have been allowed in the
yeah.
corner. But as it currently stands, no, I don't have an issue with her being in the corner. Not really.
You're just watching her, you dirt.
Well, yeah, but everyone was. Don't lie to me like that.
To be fair, she's now 1-0 in the UFC, and she called for him to hit him in the face, and immediately after he hit him in the face and won. So it is what it
I
is.
loved how Perry was just like, yeah, give me some water there, put the ice there, and basically cornered himself. Like,
Yeah, you're doing a good job, baby. Doing a good job. It was very funny, but I don't know. Like, for this fight in particular, I didn't have a problem with it because he wasn't fighting the most dangerous guy in Mickey Gall. And I want to talk about the fight itself.
In danger of getting knocked out.
I want to talk about the fight itself as well, and Perry's performance and Gall's performance, but didn't have a huge problem. But like, if he fights somebody, who's a lot more dangerous, having somebody in the corner who, in a way, should protect their fighter in certain circumstances, like not only in the sense that if he's getting beat up, potentially thrown in the towel, but if he's getting beat up, give them the right direction to allow them to stop getting beat up. Which she obviously can't do. So, it's funny, it's entertaining, and it worked out this time. But at the end of the day, this sport is very, very dangerous. It's a very violent and ruthless sport. And if he was fighting somebody else, something bad could have happened. And of course, the referee is there anyway. But the cornerman should be one cog in that wheel. But in terms of Perry's performance, I thought he looked good. But the only thing for me was it made me wonder, and it made me almost realise that he could probably be a lot better if he took this a lot more serious in a way. Like, imagine if he was coached under someone like Faraz or some really top coach. Maybe it wouldn't work out. Maybe he just doesn't gel with certain people that well. Like, just because you have a good coach doesn't mean it's going to work out well for you personally. But I just feel if you watch him go in there by himself with no cornerman essentially and put on a performance and not even look phased against a decent fighter, it shows that he has a lot of raw skills. But how good could he be? That's what I want to know.
Do you know what? He has that dog in him as well.
Yeah.
He has that absolute, and he has a massive chip
Natural
on his shoulder.
fighter. Oh yeah.
So I'm not sure anyone could coach him. We've seen that not anyone could coach him. He needs a special type of character, I think, who would be able to actually get him in. I think whoever would not take on coach him as such, but whoever was going to get the best out of him would essentially have to daddy him. If you know what I mean. He's a child in so many ways when you listen to him talk. But damn, he has so much raw ability there.
Yeah.
It's waiting for someone to get it, like raw dog.
They need to stop. They need to tell these fighters to stop outing themselves for not paying taxes and stuff. Although he didn't really out himself for not paying taxes, but he was talking about how that he owes the tax man a lot of money, and just reminded me of the Nick Diaz situation years ago when he fought GSP, and they were like, "What do you have next, Nick?" And he's like, "I don't know. I think I owe the tax man a lot of money. I haven't paid taxes in like 9 years." It's like, oh, you say this on live TV,
Diaz
Nick.
thing I've ever heard. Diaz is probably getting someone to pay him in cash before that. In the UFC, to hand over a big ball of cash and just not declaring it, buried under his house or something.
Gas. Good shout. It's now Brem, Quarantillo, and Carlisle as a top 3 fight of the year. It's up there. That was a great fight. Carlisle's a wild man, and Quarantillo looked really good in that. Quarantillo. Can't say his name. Alex Pearson, did you all see the Usman Gaethje short spar vid? Man, the amount I'd pay to see a couple of rounds of that. Yes, did you see it, Sean?
Oh man, you couldn't pay me any money in the world to take one of them body shots. Fuck that.
Yeah.
No, thank you. That was some hard shit, and you could hear it as well. That was rough, man.
I saw it on a Chael Sonnen video. A short clip of this bar on a Chael Sonnen video, and he was just talking about how it's crazy that when he was in his old gym, it's fucking escaping me now, with Dan Henderson and the law, it'll come back to me, and he used to see all these champions sparring against champions for free. They just watch it like for free as a fan, that the guys that just wouldn't fight each other because they were teammates, and he could just watch that, and that little sparring video shows that, like, imagine I would pay a lot of money to see that fight. A lot of money.
That you'd get better value out of that than some of the pay-per-views the UFC put on.
Yeah, 100%. Team Quest. That's the team. Give me a question here. I'm gonna go to community tab. You find a question on the live chat if you can.
Something there. I seen Shaw mentioned, so I'm gonna read it out. I think the solution the fighters listening to announcers is having Shaw added to every announcing booth, so the fighters have a good mix of good and bad advice.
Oh my
Fair
God.
point. The problem with having Shaw in there would be whatever Bisping said. It'd be like, totally, man, the absolute best.
Totally. Anytime someone mentions Brendan Schaub now, I just think of the whole Chris D'Elia situation that's going on now. See that shit?
Yeah, it's not great, man.
It's not great.
That, like, America, I say America, but I mean, like, the industry of, like, show business is absolutely rotten.
Yeah. If this is all true, obviously, put that caveat
allegedly,
on it.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, your sentiment is true anyway. It is. That industry in general, showbiz, is fucking rotten.
You watched the Epstein documentary, no?
I watched the first 2 episodes.
How did you find it? They're just rough enough.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. Like, not the best subject matter. You don't want to go to bed after watching it, but it's not boring. I'm not going to say it's boring, but it wasn't as engaging as a lot of other documentaries I've watched.
Yeah. Have you watched When They See Us?
Have
you watched When They See Us? It's about Central Park 5.
No, haven't.
It's really good, yeah. Just with whole Black Lives Matter stuff, it's a really good educational watch, like, but it's a tough watch as well.
Yeah. I'll check that out. More discussion about 155 being great and stuff like that. Talking about how the top 30 is definitely better at 155.
I think, top to bottom, I think.
Top to bottom,
55 is the most stacked division.
Sneb Rems thinks that Poirier is a bad matchup for Tony. Conor could be Poirier. Tony has the cardio to perhaps beat Conor. Gaethje could be Habib. Tony could be Habib. And Habib will still be Conor. It's a carousel, yeah. It is true. I don't know if I agree with all them results, but along those lines. But it is true in MMA. One of the hardest things to do in MMA is be consistently victorious, like GSP or something like that, because you're just coming against so many different styles that it's very difficult to do. Like in boxing, of course, you can have very different style boxers. But generally,
it's a lot easier to go undefeated in boxing. You can just match-make your way through it. With MMA, you can't really do that. And even if you do, there's still always these little quirks to fighters, that you don't necessarily see in boxing. Like,
the major quirk in boxing is like, oh, you're fighting a southpaw now,
Yeah,
but
that's really it. Like, or a
yeah,
pressure fighter or a
yeah,
boxer,
like
like
just
whatever. It's about
without
it,
making
really.
it too simple, just there's a lot more to worry about in MMA. So being like consistently victorious in MMA is so hard to do, and that's why
Mm.
these like crazy 9-10 fight runs in the UFC are so impressive, because you can just run into somebody who can beat you, and they're not necessarily a better fighter. Well, they are
Mm.
if they beat you, but you know what I mean. They're
Yeah,
not more credentialed, but it is what it is.
they imposed their will on you on the night.
Huh?
They imposed their will on you on that given night.
Yeah, yeah.
I
It's
mean,
like
have you seen some? Have you seen some of the boxing cards in America since Top Rank came back? They're stinking.
I haven't seen them.
Like I give out about the UFC an awful lot, but credit to them, they put on some fucking banging cards since they came back. I mean,
Yeah.
back to back to back, they put on banging cards. The Top Rank have put on some stinkers since coming back. Like
Do you think it's something to do with the how it's structured and stuff, like pay wise and stuff like that? Like for example,
probably
you can't. Can you really have a big time boxing match right now, where a lot of these
no,
big
but
boxers want part of the gate and stuff like that?
no. I mean, you're not going to do AJ and Fury behind closed doors, but I mean, you could probably do like a bantamweight title, world
Mm.
title fight or something like that. Like one, I mean, Eddie Hearn announced a couple of his shows for August, and he has one really good card now. To be fair, and the other card, there's one of the other cards as well. He announced 4 cards. One of them is a banger. It's the pay-per-view card. And there's some cracking fights on it. Katie Taylor's on that one as well. Actually, as it happens.
Nice.
But then there's one of the other cards, a really good little domestic card with some like domestic fights that like British and Irish boxing fans would know. But like these American ones are literally just decent name fighter against Bin Man. It's exactly what it is like.
Gas.
And it is probably to do with the way it's structured and the pay and stuff. But I
Yeah,
mean, the
it's
UFC, and yeah, they pay a lot more, but the UFC has shown that you can put on quality fights
yeah.
behind closed doors.
I say it's just, there's a lot of reasons for it, you know.
I think it's just laziness as well, a lot of it.
Yeah. Did you hear Daniel Cormier talk about fighter pay again?
Yeah.
I know you love it. Gonna go back to the
Was this
community
on?
tab
Was
really
this
quickly.
on? Was this on him
The
and
Ariel
Albani's
show.
show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He basically just said, like, he basically said, you know, the rebuttal to a union strike. It's like if you have a protest or you have a strike, then we're just gonna get some scab who'll come in and be paid less money. That's what he said.
Yeah.
You know.
This is the problem. Fighters don't realize that they're all actually aiming towards the same thing here,
Yeah.
and they need to realize that. Did you see as well? Actually, they said about I think it was Helwani actually called out Jones a little bit. I watched that this morning. He said, Ray Jones is talking about fighting the good fight for fighter pay and stuff. I'm doing this for the younger guys and stuff.
Yeah.
Ariel was kind of just like, come on, man, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and like, there's nothing wrong with doing it for your own pocket, but like, let's call a spade here. It's
Yeah.
about your own pocket, yeah.
Did you say that was John Jones?
Yeah.
Oh well, he wouldn't be lying. You know, he doesn't have a record of it.
John's actually a reformed character again, in case you didn't know that.
Oh, is he?
He said that last DUI really changed his perspective. So,
Huh.
Yeah.
Maybe if he just keeps having DUIs, it's like just
I just thought
slowly.
4 DUIs in, you might get a change in character.
Yeah, that's how it works, Sean. Try it out.
That's the line as well. Only you knew it. Well, actually,
James.
John knows exactly what the line is.
Derek M. Moore.
Someone might get that.
Derek M. Moore. McGregor versus Dustin makes the most sense for both fighters next. What do you think? I think Hooker might get Ferguson next over Dustin. Do you know what? For some reason, I don't really like. Not that I don't like Dustin and Ferguson. It's an amazing fight. I want to say, but next I don't necessarily want it because I think Dustin should get. I know Ferguson, technically fought for a title. Yeah, not even bigger. Like that's a huge fight, but I just think he should fight someone. He should be next title fight or something anyway. But I agree. I think McGregor versus Dustin makes a whole lot of sense at this point. It really does.
Yeah.
For both guys.
I'm not even sure I'd have Ferguson in that mix for next fight again. I want to see Ferguson take some time out,
Take some time out and get someone a little bit more manageable.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think that Dan Hooker is manageable, but it's a good fight.
Hell of a fight, actually.
It's a hell of a fight too. Yeah, jeez, man. Jeez. Edward Mullen. Lads, how do you see Whittaker versus Till going? Think Whittaker is the heavy favourite? Is he? Is he a favorite?
He is a big favorite. Yeah, not
Mm,
massive, but he's a favorite. Just give me a second. I like to prepare for this show, Rob, and I have my odds open in front of me.
unbelievable stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
he is a favorite. He's 8-13, not massive favorite, but Taylor's 5-4. Uh, I'd maybe have a poker 5-4. Wouldn't set me pulses of lightning, to be honest.
I based on recent success and failure, I guess, recent
Mm,
performances, Darren Till has really impressed me, and I was
yeah,
very unimpressed with Robert Whittaker's last performance. But since then, there's been some talk about him being completely kind of checked out of sport at that point for whatever reason.
just had stuff going on.
He was burnt out. He had some stuff going on. So
I mean, 10 rounds at Yoel Romero will do that to you.
that
And
yeah,
I don't even mean that as a joke. I mean, that'll leave a bit of you inside
no,
that cage. Like,
it will. It fucking will. Um, so yeah, in terms of that, I would favour Darren Till, but
mm,
I do think Robert Whittaker is a better fighter overall. I really do. I think he has the better grappling skills, but I also think he's very competitive on the feet. Robert Whittaker is a really
he
good.
has that, Whittaker has that dog in him as well.
Yeah, he does. We've seen it, as you said, two Yoel Romero fights.
Yeah,
Um, but I have to say, Darren Till, I was overly impressed with Darren Till against Kelvin
mm,
Gastelum because I
really
didn't
impressed. Yeah,
expect him to look that good at all.
yeah. And he fought a style of fight we hadn't really seen from him before.
Yes. Yeah.
Up a weight class against a big dude as well, like a
Yeah.
genuine contender at the weight class.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't a fight he had to take at 85. I mean, he could have come up and fought someone like, I don't know, Brunson or something. And not to
Yeah.
disrespect Brunson, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. But I think that was important as well, that kind of
Yeah.
performance from Darren Till, because he was being known as a certain style of fighter. And I don't think he was never really like that one punch guy. Like, he has a lot of power, but really, if you watch his UFC fights, he has a good few decisions. He has some finishes, but he has a good few decisions. But it wasn't just that he went a decision with Kelvin Gastelum.
Mm.
It was the
He
style of
dominated
fight
him.
that he fought. He was very measured, and not even measured like he was against Stephen Thompson. It was a different
Mm.
look. It was a very different look that he showed, and I was very impressed. That was
Just
very good.
talking about like the 10 rounds against Joe Romero taking something out of you. It will be interesting to see. I mean, we've seen that Paul Felder curse again. I've seen the UFC betting experience just there. I mentioned it in the chat. I think we mentioned it last week, where every fighter or so many fighters after beating Paul or after beating Felder lose the next one, was it? That was it.
Something like that, yeah,
Yeah, because he just takes, and like that's a credit to Paul Felder as well. That
yeah,
um, but it will be interesting to see after that Poirier and Hooker fight. Like there was a bit
yeah,
of them in that cage again. I don't care what anyone says.
yeah. John C. We kind of got this question a minute ago, but not necessarily. It was just about the footage. But thoughts on Gaethje and Usman working together?
Oh,
Um,
that's some solid rounds, man.
that's solid rounds and a perfect matchup, right? Because
Mm.
Usman is going out there and he's fighting um
Gilbert Burns.
Gilbert Burns, who, like, Gaethje and Gilbert Burns don't fight exactly the same, but in terms of like big punchers I wouldn't even call Burns really not an action fighter, but similar in that sense. But a guy who clearly has some good cardio and who can land a punch and who has some grappling. Whether
Yeah.
Justin Gaethje has a lot of jiu-jitsu, we don't know. We haven't really seen it, but he has some good takedowns. And Gilbert Burns is known to look for takedowns, so that's perfect. And then the opposite
I think
end, it's perfect as well.
Gaethje
Usman
can definitely give
for
Usman some
Habib.
looks that Burns might give him as well.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, then the opposite end, Habib. You know,
Yeah.
Usman. There's a clear similarity there. Different fighters, but clear similarity.
Yeah.
So I think it's
I
perfect.
mean, you're not. It's actually impossible to get like a guy who's gonna give you a proper
Yeah,
look at Khabib in sparring. So
yeah,
other than sparring with Khabib,
yeah, yeah. Which I don't think it works like that. Aaron Rabbit, who put up a better performance against Habib, Connor or Dustin?
you know what? I'm gonna pick Conor because I actually think Conor gets a little bit uh too much shit for his performance against
Mm,
Khabib than he maybe deserves. I mean,
mm,
he defended a lot of takedowns in that fight.
mm. Cheated a lot,
It's
but
okay.
defended a lot
Look,
of takedowns.
yeah, he gave up a lot, but so does everyone.
Yeah,
Um,
I say
I
cheated a
think
lot.
look, Yeah, I think he looked okay. I think Conor put up a pretty good performance against
Yeah,
Khabib.
I pick Connor as well. I actually thought he looked pretty good in the early
Yeah,
rounds. I think aside from a little bit of cheating and the finish, I thought he looked pretty decent. He actually dealt with Habib's grappling fairly okay, like relatively okay compared to everybody else. When you look at the Dustin Poirier fight, it wasn't a great performance from him.
mm.
Not taking anything away from him, it was Habib, but wasn't the best performance. So yeah, I'll go with Connor.
Do you know what would be interesting as well? Because we've seen Conor kind of make excuses after the fight as well, saying that he only focused on the takedowns, didn't focus on his strengths, and his leg was busted up, and like he has made excuses. It would be interesting to see if he put a normal camp in, no injury free, obviously, but if he focused on his own strengths and a bit less so on the wrestling, because he dealt okay with the grappling, like you said.
Yeah,
So does he deal with it as well if he doesn't focus on it so much? There's some questions, there's some stuff there to be answered, I suppose, but it doesn't necessarily make me want to see a rematch anytime soon because I don't
no,
think the
it
fight looks
doesn't.
any different.
The thing about McGregor, and I think why a lot of people found him endearing from the beginning, was when he lost and when he won, he was very analytical in what happened. Now against Habib, he went. He had
Lost.
some excuses there. He had some big excuses, and he went to them. And he also discredited a lot of what Habib done. But it doesn't take away the fact that he is very intelligent when it comes to the fight game, and there
Yeah,
was little nuggets of truth in what he said
yeah,
in terms of how things that he done well and things that maybe he could capitalize. So I don't doubt that if he does have a rematch with Habib, he'd be way more prepared, and
mm,
I think he'd probably put in even a better performance. Don't think he'd win, but I think he would put in a better performance.
yeah.
So
I
just
think,
that.
I mean, we've seen the late night tweets as well, where he basically discredits everything Khabib done.
Oh,
And
a
there's
lucky
some
right
little
hand.
bits in, yeah,
Come on.
or there's some bits in there that you're like, okay, yeah, but come on, man. I mean, you were
Yeah.
pretty. He owned up to the Nate defeat, to the what other defeats? I'm trying to think now. The Nate one, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
The Floyd one.
The Floyd, yeah, the Floyd one. He owned up to the Nate one pretty well. I mean, I think his stock went up after that Nate loss,
It,
really.
it absolutely did, especially because the things that he said that you had to work on, I didn't do this right.
Mm,
Um, I didn't manage my energy correctly in the early rounds, and I think when you watch the second fight, you can clearly see the adjustments that he made going through. You can see it in his body as well.
yeah,
Clearly, he didn't make that weight in the right way. There's ways to make weight, and he didn't make that weight in the right way. Although technically, make that weight, it's kind of a weird thing because he wasn't cutting weight, but you know what I mean. He didn't
yeah. He
manage
ate.
himself there.
Yeah, he didn't. He was a flabby 168 or whatever he weighed, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, he was eating
He was
steak.
that Jan Vellante dad body the weekend. Fuck me, he looked chunky.
Gian Vellante. The biggest loser of the event was Gian Vellante, I think.
Yeah, that submission
Not great.
frightening. And like Fabio for me that fucking stopped calling out fighters for tapping and stuff, but he looked like he was on his way to win the fight.
Yeah.
Um, got us. He looked knackered though as well. He did look really tired, and I think his breathing was probably a little bit restricted. He just tapped.
I've net like I don't know. I'm obviously not very credentialed or anything like that
Uh,
in grappling, but I've grappled quite a bit, and I've grappled with some high level guys. Like one of my jiu-jitsu coaches back in the day was a brown belt and worked with Fabricio Verdum. He moved to Ireland, like so. He was quite good,
yeah, he was
and
handy enough.
like I'm sure if he wanted to submit me that way, he could. But like when you look at it and you're saying third round, both exhausted. Graham wasn't a spring chicken either, and he was on top, and there wasn't even. He had a bit of a lockdown going on the leg, but it wasn't even
Yeah,
that tight. He didn't
and like
seem
how
that
long how long was
stuck.
left of the fight? He could have held on, man.
Yeah, I think he could have held on. I don't know what he was feeling, but that
Yeah,
seemed to me like a guy who wasn't fully in shape, and yeah.
and you know what? I got the impression from the boys on commentary that they kind of wanted to call it out, but they also didn't want to.
Mm,
I felt like one of them. I think it
yeah,
was. I can't remember. It was Bisping or Cruz. Kind of wanted to call him out for tapping like a bitch,
yeah.
and just also didn't want to as a fighters union and stuff. But
I remember there was a girls' fight, and I don't know if it was on. It wasn't on this card. I think it was on the last card, and there was a low kick, as in a groin shot.
Groin kick, yeah.
And it just went really silent because I don't think they knew what to say because, like, you know, it was a female, it wasn't a male. And then Dominic Cruz just turned around and goes, "It doesn't matter who you are, you don't want to get kicked down there." And you're like, "Oh yeah, definitely not." It just was really awkward or something.
I just saw that meme. It was like, "Kick her right in the pussy."
As Neb Rem, Poirier's path to victory versus Habib is on the feet, but being composed on the feet, which may happen in a rematch.
That's people's path to victory against Khabib, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's everybody's path to victory, but yeah, it's tough to do. Mighty Mike 1011. Do you see a path back to the title shot for Tony Ferguson? Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Tough though.
Tough, but I do. Like, I mean, do you see a path? There. A path is there. It's just, you know, it's like, it's not a great path.
Right now he's behind Gaethje.
It's a rocky path. Yeah.
Realistically, he's behind McGregor as well, even though he shouldn't be. But
yeah,
realistically, McGregor's ahead of Poirier, to be honest.
In reality, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, shouldn't be, but
not what should be, but what is.
George Maskell, Dustin Poirier is too hook heavy to be Habib. His hips are easy to catch square. Yeah, I was watching or listening to Jack Slack's podcast, and he mentioned something very interesting about Dustin Poirier, the way he strikes, is that he has really good fundamentals, and he finishes with his fundamentals instead of starting with them. So like, he has a jab there that he's getting a lot better with, but a lot of the time he'll throw a very awkward strike, like a loop and hook, and then finish with a lovely 1-2. So I think he was saying, I don't know if it was a boxer, but he was talking about somebody who said the reason why they done it, whoever this person was, I think it was a boxer, is because when you throw something really unorthodox, the guy is expecting to be followed up with something unorthodox, and then you go back to something actually fundamental and basic. And Dustin Poirier does that quite a lot.
So something unorthodox, you can catch your guy off guard as well.
Exactly, yeah. So, but in terms of he is very hook heavy, and yeah, he goes for the guillotine quite a lot.
Does, doesn't he?
He sure does. How many seconds will it take for Sugar to knock out Gio Rivera? I don't know. Didn't think about that. Formidable Frank, great username. Cheers from Chicago. Cheers, mate.
So?
Do you guys think Max makes the correct adjustments and gets his belt back? Ooh, Sean, I'll let you go with that one because you're a Holloway fan.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I was actually looking at this fight today, and I texted Rob earlier and I said, there's a couple of interesting prices in the UFC 251 card from a betting perspective.
Yeah. And
the Holloway one was one of those that I was a little bit interested by. I think Volkanovski is 1-2.
Okay.
I mean, understandably so. It's pretty clearly won the first fight.
Yeah.
And then you can get 13-8 on Max, which to me is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot about this fight because I went and looked at the scorecards, and I don't know how you scored at the time, Rob. I mean, one judge gave it 50-45, and then the others gave it 48-47. I mean, the general consensus seemed to be that Max won the last 2 rounds. That be fair?
I can't remember, but
in the last 2 rounds.
He did come on strong.
I'm gonna watch this. I'm gonna watch this fight again just to see before I back at it. But yeah, I think there could be a bit of juice in that Holloway price. You know, if he starts a little bit quicker and doesn't necessarily give away the first couple of rounds like he did the last time.
Yeah, I wonder. Joel, let's get some likes for the boys. I agree. Go for it.
We always talk about this in immediate rematches, like.
Yeah, your point there, though, this is why I want to go back and rewatch it, that the consensus seems to be that Max won the later rounds. And if that's true, again, I need to go back and rewatch it. My memory isn't great. Was he actually making the right adjustments late on? Perhaps he was. I haven't seen some analysis on it, but from what I remember, I just remember Max Holloway being 1 to 2 steps behind Volkanovski every time, and Volkanovski fighting very, very smart. And I thought he quite clearly won. But if I go rewatch it and I can see Max Holloway making some good adjustments later on, you know, that fight is there. Yeah. I don't know. If I had to pick right now, I'd pick Volkanovski just because I thought he clearly won that first one. But Max Holloway is a damn good fighter.
I think he's a fair 1-2 price. I mean, I can't argue with that, but I could be tempted to have, when I rewatch the fight, I could be tempted to go in on Max on that. But yeah, if you're picking right now, I'm picking Volkanovski. It's hard not to. I hope I shouldn't say I'd like to see Max make, because I actually quite like Volkanovski. I'm loving all these Aussie guys. I think the Aussie guys are quite cool. They're
Yeah,
quite similar to the Irish in some ways. I think they all love swearing and drinking and stuff. So
yeah,
but yeah, I'd like to see Max. Max is a cool guy. But and like even if he loses, he's still one of the all-time best featherweights,
yeah.
without a doubt. So
She-Wolf,
no,
shout out from New Zealand, lads. Shout out. I just want to jump back to the community tab so I don't miss
they're getting
anything.
on over in New Zealand. She will.
Yeah, how are you getting on over there? How's things? How's coronavirus actually being
I
can
think
hopefully
now,
contained?
they might correct me, but borders are still closed. They're letting full attendances into rugby matches, which is
Wow,
fucking deadly.
that's
Because
pretty fucking
they
sweet.
haven't been reporting any new cases. I think there was actually 2 new cases, and it was because of 2 fucking Brits coming into the country and not listening to the quarantine. Fucking Tans doing it again.
Oh Jesus!
She-Wolf can correct me on that now if I'm wrong, but
Play some Wolf Towns or something.
yeah.
Terry Bell, is MMA really MMA anymore? Has it now transformed
Deep
into its
question.
own martial art and not a mix of all traditional arts? Do you know what? That is a
Interesting question.
good question. Huh?
It's heading that way, because we've talked about this before, as in there's boxing and then there's MMA boxing. So it is kind
Oh
of
yeah,
heading that way.
yeah. That's very true.
Sorry, I just fixed my glass there. Yeah, it is kind of developing into its own sport rather than just a mismatch of, or a mishmash of something that people want to create. It's
Yeah,
heading that way. It's developing that way. It's getting there. It's never going to be quick because it's such a new sport.
yeah. And because what's weird is if you look at like MMA programs, training programs in gyms and stuff like that, they always have like the separate arts, and then they'll have an MMA class, like specific MMA. So I think if you're talking about it from a coaching perspective, I think a lot of coaches actually do look at it in that way.
Yeah.
That
And I think that
its own art.
MMA part of the class is going to become more and more dominant probably as well as we
Yeah.
go on. Because we're seeing it with these younger guys coming up as well. They're just so well rounded.
Mm. Yeah, it's a very interesting question. It's something I'd like to explore a bit more, but you can look at it in a few different ways. But I do think that in a few years, maybe 10 to 15 years, you're gonna have. You already have a lot more guys who don't really train. Like a lot of people don't train gi anymore in jiu-jitsu when they're training for MMA. The traditionalists kind of say I should still do it, but it's not necessarily that advantageous. But yeah, I don't know. That's a very good question. It's something I'd have to think about a lot more to actually give a
You could
great
do a
answer
video
on.
on
But
that, Rob, after you do your video on all the champions.
shut up, Sean. Oh God. George Mastel, can Triple C grab the fourth C? Another title. He's retired, ain't he?
Do you know what? If he did come back and fight Volkanovski, who am I to write him off? I said he wouldn't beat. Well, he didn't beat TJ in that second fight anyway. But I think I picked him against TJ, but I didn't think he'd beat. Who did he fight in his last fight? Jeez, my brain. I've picked against him a couple of times, and who would I be to write him off against Volkanovski? I'm not sure, and I think that's a hell of a tough fight for him. But he's proved me wrong a lot of times already. So
yeah. There's a question here. Sorry. Yeah. I wouldn't favour him, but if he comes back again, yeah, he's an incredible fighter. What can you say?
Exactly,
he's an incredible fighter. There was a question there, or a comment. Drew L. Did you guys hear that Whitaker isn't working with Fab currently? Fab.
Who's Fab? Coach?
I don't know who Fab is. Like, I was thinking, what was Whitaker's coach's name? And I'm pretty sure his coach is Perez. I don't know. Let us know who Fab is. I can't think of who that is. Neil the security. Here's a controversial statement. Max Holloway is one-dimensional and has peaked in skill in my eyes. Huh, Sean?
I don't know. You probably know what you're going to get from Max. I think one-dimensional seems a bit harsh.
Yeah. See, if you want to call striking one dimensional, just striking
Yeah,
as a whole, then maybe you could say like Max Holloway has some good grappling skills. He just
yeah,
doesn't go to it.
we've seen some submissions from him.
Yeah, we have, but like he's not going to go attack a takedown.
No,
But if you take him down, he will have some stuff off his back. But you know, in terms of his, like go to, maybe you could argue he's one dimensional in a certain sense because he sticks with his striking.
I
But
think
with
that's
that
it. Alex.
striking, he's not one dimensional in his striking.
No,
There's a lot of stuff there. He switches
yeah,
stances
like
all the time.
do you want to call Justin Gaethje one dimensional just because he doesn't use his wrestling?
Yeah, yeah. I don't
I mean,
think
it's
it's
there, like,
yeah,
but it's not his go-to. Like,
yeah. My way of saying one dimensional, my definition would be somebody who does one thing but can
yeah,
only do one thing. Like they just don't have the skills anywhere else. Like Cindy
Deontay Wilder.
Dandois, remember her? She could only grapple and do a certain style of grappling, get on top and
Yeah.
pass guard.
If we're talking genuinely one-dimensional, we're kind of looking at some heavyweights there. Some big dudes who came from football,
Yeah,
played football, and can punch hard. Not even punch well, but punch hard.
yeah. She Wolf let us know that we are rocking it over here. Borders closed. Hoping Aussies will get their act together so we can enjoy their beaches and beverages again. It's kind of back to normal. That's
The
class.
Aussies are actually. I was talking to someone in Melbourne today, a friend of mine, and they were saying that it's like a localized lockdown. So if there's an outbreak of cases, they lock down the local areas rather than the whole country, which seems quite fair. But half of Melbourne is currently on lockdown because there's an outbreak in a hotel. So just
Jeez.
half of it's by postcode, so half of Melbourne is kind of lockdown.
Jesus Christ. What time are we at? We probably went for about an hour. We'll go for another 15 minutes, Sean. 15
Yeah,
minutes?
I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, United don't kick off till 8:15, Rob.
Oh, grand. So another 15 minutes. Get your questions in and make sure you like the video. It really helps us out. As Never M, did you give up on the championship rankings or champion rankings? No, I didn't. I will definitely do it. I promise. There's a few fights I need to watch because I want to be prepared and I haven't got a chance to
That's
watch
fair,
them
Rob.
yet.
You wouldn't go into a fight on short notice, So
Huh?
you wouldn't take a fight on short
Oh,
notice.
no.
Like, you want to be prepared. You want a
I want to be
12-week
prepared.
camp,
I want to give you
Rob's,
good content.
Rob's taking a 12-week camp for this video. That's
Yeah.
what he's doing.
Yeah. For those who don't know, I'm going to rank every UFC champion ever. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and see that. It will happen shortly. Promise. That was supposed to happen about a month ago. What's wrong with me?
There's a question there from Formidable Frank that I want to kind of talk about as well because it kind of touches on what I was saying about Holloway and his price on the 251 card. So there's 3 underdogs on the next pay-per-view card. Whose chances do you like the most of pulling off the upset? Aldo, Holloway, Burns. Aldo's price was another one I was looking at actually. So Peter Yan is 4-9, which I think is very short. And I know Yan is a killer. Aldo looked good in his last fight, against Moraes. Arguably won it.
Yeah.
Didn't win it, but arguably won it. And he's 7-4. At 7-4, I'd be quite interested in having a poke at Jose Aldo.
Do you know what? I would be too. Like Peter Yan, as you said, great fighter. I'm not going to say untested because I think that's unfair. But Jose Aldo is a different level than a lot of the guys he has fought. Perhaps most of the guys, perhaps all the guys he has fought. So like, I see that as a definite winnable fight for Jose Aldo. 135 still scares me a little bit. He did look good in his first fight, but still scares me a little bit. But out of all 3, but out of all 3, to be honest, Jose Aldo was my pick as well. Closely followed by Max Holloway. I'm a little bit, actually, maybe closely followed by Gilbert Burns. I'm not actually sure. Like I've kind of talked myself into Max Holloway perhaps getting that victory back.
We need to watch the fight again, though.
Yeah, before this podcast, I was all on the Volkanovski train. Not in terms of fandom, but
we'll
in
watch
terms
that
of
Holloway fight before we preview the card next week. We'll watch it over the weekend.
I need to rewatch that.
Speaking of Burns, though, the Usman and Burns fight, the two of them are priced the same. So, excuse me, Usman is 4-9 as well, and Gilbert Burns is 7-4. Out of the 2 7-4 shots, I think I'd be pretty happy with the back Jose Aldo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Usman's a pretty fair favourite there. 7-4 wouldn't necessarily interest me too much against. We haven't seen Usman fight again in a while, It's coming up to a while.
Yeah, that was a damn tough fight. Here's a question from the community tab. Last one from the community tab. So we'll get right into all those live chat questions. So get them in before we finish up here. Aaron Rabbit. From an MMA fan's point of view, would you rather see Conor stay retired or jump to the front of the line when he wants to come back? That is a very good question.
That's a tough question. You know?
It's a tough question, but I'm fairly confident to say that I would rather he jumps the line. And not necessarily because I want it, because I don't want any of these scenarios. If you get me out of these scenarios and I had an alternative pick, or I'd look for that alternative pick. But you're making me pick one of these, and I just think watching Conor McGregor fight is too entertaining. It's too exciting, and I'd rather see him fight. Give him that fucking title fight and let us see it, and then hopefully he fights after that.
Yeah.
I'm actually fairly confident in saying that. I'd like to see him fight again, but not happy with the what you're forcing me to do.
Yeah, like if the only way we get to see Conor fight again, as in if that's what you're telling me here, then yeah, skip to the front of the line. I'm not too. I don't know who genuinely picks stay retired other than out of bitterness, really. Like,
let us know actually in the chat.
But yeah, other than hating on Conor, like everyone watches him whether you like him or you hate him. So yeah, I think
some people might be just bored of him, which I understand. But to be honest,
too,
what I saw against Cowboy, I liked. It's Cowboy Cerrone in 2020, but what I saw, I liked.
There's some fun fights out there from like Nate, Dustin, the Max rematch is there.
Yeah.
I don't know, Tony Ferguson. There's some fun fights from there, right? With so let's get it.
Do I choose me? What's your belief on pay? Do you think Jorge is overreacting? And do you find it strange that Jones and Jorge both have the same manager? Do you think there's something more behind the scenes? I think that fighters aren't paid enough. As Luke Thomas said, if you think that Dustin Poirier and Dan Hooker only deserved $1 out of the $5 that the UFC made on the weekend, you're crazy.
Less actually, is that?
Less than $1, yeah, because it's like 16 or 17%. So I think they're definitely underpaid. Do I find it strange that they have the same manager and they're thinking the same? No, that's just kind of how that works. A lot of guys have the same manager, and the manager knows exactly what his clients are being paid, so he knows if they're being underpaid, so to speak. So
yeah, I think the issue of fighter pay, like they're not going to get paid. They're not winning this fight in the sense they're going to get paid what they genuinely should. Not anytime soon, anyway. But will they get more percentage of the revenue? Maybe. But like they should be getting up towards 50%, really.
Yeah, 100%.
Like every other sport.
A bit of clarification on Fab. And now I know who he is. Fab is the guy who coordinated everything for him, had the YouTube channel with him, and they were hilarious. They seemed like best friends. I hope it's not true. Yeah, I know who it is now. Basically the co-host of the podcast, which they're not doing anymore.
That podcast,
I didn't watch it a whole lot, but I watched the clips, and I thought it was very good. I thought your man Fab, I guess his name is, was very good too. So that's not good to see. Hopefully they're all good. But thanks for that. She-Wolf, what's your lads' fighting backgrounds? No fighting background.
Bit of lover, not a fighter.
Jiu-jitsu. Sean's a lover, like you can see. Look at his face. Just a little bit of jiu-jitsu mostly. Grappling 98% of my things. George
I want to
Moskov.
get back into some jiu-jitsu and then move back up to Dublin. So I'm currently at home, obviously. There's a pandemic. So when I get back up and stuff, I'd like to get back into it.
Yeah, hopefully when I move house, I can find a good gym near where I am. Anyways, George Maskell, Frankie makes it to the top of 135, and Aldo wins again, and then Aldo's there to stop his dreams. Imagine how annoyed you would be.
Frankie,
did you see the picture of Frankie going down to 35?
No, how's he look?
He looks skinnier. I don't know if he looked the worst. I only kind of glanced at it, but
Must have a look.
He looked skinnier, but of course he looked skinnier. He weighed less. Neil the security. If Max has more tools in his toolbox, shouldn't he have more success against Poirier? Does he though?
I think the point was, I think he was making the point about whoever said he was one-dimensional.
All right. Fair enough. Bless his best.
I think Max needs to go into 55 if he wants to go up there, similar to how Dustin did it.
Yeah.
Max is in a position now where he can't just go up to 55, and because of where he's at in 45, he can't just go up and fight number 14 in the lightweight rankings, really.
Yeah. She-Wolf, repay, so replying to pay disputes. Do you think that there will be a tipping point that makes Bellator take over UFC as a leader? Sponsorship monies, fam. I don't see it. The UFC is way too big.
Yeah, if you look at the financial numbers comparing the two, they're not even close.
No.
I know Bellator pay quite well at a lower level, but it's still, again, not what fighters should be getting.
No. And then at the upper level,
relatively okay. Yeah.
The upper level, you probably wouldn't get paid as much. Like, I mean, if you're a Rory McDonald, you're probably going to come out with more money because you're not quite making that pay-per-view money with the UFC. But then when you go to Bellator, when you go to Bellator, you get your sponsorship, plus you're probably getting a little bit more up front. But then if you're a top guy, the UFC is where you want to be, because you want the pay-per-view money is where the money is made, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't see that ever happening. David Power, do either of you guys train MMA? I'm new to your channel. You seem to know your stuff, so I was interested. I done MMA technically in college, but we were supposed to do an MMA tournament. Like, it was supposed to be like inter-varsity MMA, but we kind of just done jiu-jitsu and then barely ever done any striking. So when the MMA tournament came around, they were like, yeah, let's not do that, let's just stick with jiu-jitsu. So done a little bit of striking and mostly jiu-jitsu. Well, technically submission grappling, it wasn't just jiu-jitsu. And then I done jiu-jitsu outside of college since, in many different places, and I always do it for a while, and then a reason comes up that I can't do it anymore, unfortunately. Znebrem, have either of you seen Mexican Martial Arts Funniest MMA Channel? I haven't. Have you seen that, Sean?
No.
I'll
give it a look. I'm not really, do you know what? I'm not even watching that much YouTube or podcasts lately. I'm barely behind because all I've been doing in my life after work is watching football.
Yeah.
And then watching fights and watching football, like, is all I've been doing.
Yeah.
I've not watched any TV shows around at the minute because it's just football on every evening. So that's all I'm doing.
We'll go for another 5 minutes, so get your questions in really quickly. I assume you're very happy about Liverpool winning the league, so
I don't want to talk about it. It just makes me sad inside. Like, I can't even. We'll talk about it. It's over. Like, it's
sure. You know.
Thanks, Drew. Said nice glasses. No headaches with these, so that's good.
Did you see that 16 to 19-year-olds in the UK can now earn a qualification in MMA? See
really?
That?
Is that what?
Yeah. It's so there is this basically an accredited MMA industry program by the IMMAF, which is like the European regulatory body kind of. But yeah, they have set up an association in the UK that you can gain a government recognized qualification, BTEC qualification, and gain UCAS points for university progression.
That's their CAO thing.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
So I didn't know what that was.
I might actually look that up. I wonder what that, like, does it let you into management or what do you learn?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Pretty cool though.
Yeah, no, it is. It's good. A good progression for like legitimacy of the sport.
Yeah, big time. I wonder now if we'll see a little bit of a surge in, say, 10 years, maybe 5 to 10 years of young British talent coming up. There's already some really good, English and British fighters in general, but
it'd be cool if it taught them stuff like genuine stuff, like guys who wanted to go into it, like how to pay your taxes. And I don't mean this like taking the piss, but like this is what happened when you get paid. You have to do this. You have to pay this. Pick a good manager, like stuff to fight.
Send Mike Perry to it.
Yeah.
And Nick Diaz.
But like there was loads of tweets about it. Fighters just don't realize how to set themselves up financially, essentially.
Yeah,
throughout their career. So,
I agree. Yeah, I seen actually Eddie Alvarez I think it was Eddie Alvarez putting up tips
yeah,
to
because
help
Ben
fighters.
Askren was tweeting a load of tips as well,
Ben Askren as well, was
and
it?
Eddie jumped on it as well. Yeah, it was actually worth a read if you see Ben's thread.
Yeah,
Sorry,
he is.
someone pull up from my house still.
No worries. Are
Sal
you,
needs
are you
Sal's
gonna get
giving me shit
raided?
in
Are
the
you?
chat there.
How's
I
gonna get
think so. Yeah,
raided?
I
You're
think
gonna
it's
get.
the IRA or something. Yeah. Sal's giving me shit about the glasses.
They heard you talking shit about the Brits and they are coming
I
to
know.
drape you in the tricolour and that. Yes, I'll loving the glasses. Well, Sean, you need to take a girl with you next time you buy glasses.
I need to get a girl first. That's the problem. Anyone hook me up?
That's hilarious. Just checking Reddit there. Did you see that Dana White put up a thing about Yas Island, about the infrastructure and stuff being built for the minute?
Seen something, but I didn't look at it.
It was like epic. It was a montage of like a lot of numbers and pretty cool and substantial looking medical facilities. With a lot of big numbers. So I assume they're prepared because just like all these big numbers are flashing on the screen. Looked kind of cool.
That island, that cage that's on the beach isn't where they're actually fighting.
No, it's not.
It'd be like 100 degrees. The cage would, like the actual canvas would burn the feet of you.
Fucking yeah, I know. And they're fighting at like 6 a.m. in the morning. 6 a.m. in the morning.
Paige
6
Van Zandt
a.m.
didn't even know that. She had an interview with Ariel, and Ariel was like,
I know.
The fight's at 6 a.m. And she's
like, what?
Excuse me? Yeah.
Yeah, fuck that, man. So we're gonna leave it in a couple of minutes. So if you have any more questions, even some quick fire ones, we'll do it, and we'll get out of here. But before we do get out of here, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out, and give it a share on Twitter and all that kind of stuff because we want to build this thing up.
Just,
do you know what I mean?
Tell your mates, like, stick it in the chat then. Say, do you know what? This is really good.
Yeah. So
or
look at this.
Shite, you should check it out. Someone called us really boring last week and said that we put him to sleep.
Yeah.
He was obviously watching it, which is good. So.
Yeah, so I said it's like that's our second.
Shit.
It's our second function.
Yeah.
We're a sleep aid.
I thanked them for watching the show.
Yeah. The best way to deal with trolls is to kill them with love and
kindness, man.
Kindness. There's a question: which sport requires most skill? Well, we could be, a bit biased and say MMA, and I think MMA requires a lot of skill. But what do you think, Sean?
Yeah, if we're asking sport as in overaction, then yeah, MMA I think is definitely up there. If you're asking like which sport within MMA, like that's a can of worms, really.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the video of Khabib and I think it's Khabib and Cejudo arguing over which wrestling style is better? It's like Roman Greco. It's very funny.
Yeah. What's your favorite pet? I'm not sure if he means
dog.
or just in general your favorite pet. So if
dog
it's
is
that,
the answer, Rob. Dog is the answer.
A dog is always the answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about a tiger, Sean?
No, I'm not Mike Tyson.
Joe Exotic is what I was going for. Dog is always the answer, and I have a little dog. Do you have a dog, Sean?
I have a dog, yeah, a little beat.
I don't know why my voice went really high pitched there. Do you have a dog, Sean? Yeah. Yeah, dog is right answer.
Danny Nor W, grandma glasses. Yeah, kinda. I was getting headaches, man, looking at the screen for so long. Had to get something. They're just blue light glasses. They don't actually have proper lenses and stuff. But
I think they look cool, Sean. Actually, no. Real talk though. Nice hoodie.
Yeah, it's a nice hoodie, isn't it?
Yeah, where'd you get that?
It's a YouTuber I follow, and he released some like merchandise and it says "Have a nice," so it's just like good vibes,
Yeah. Who's the YouTuber?
David Vujanic. There's like football and all that stuff.
All right.
Yeah, I doubt you know him. He talks about football and all that stuff, but like his Instagram is just literally him. That his thing is "Have a nice."
All right.
It's funny. Yeah.
Do you know, like I used to be like the biggest football fan ever, like absolutely obsessed with football, and I know you probably don't. I don't know. You don't see that because I don't watch a lot of football anymore. But I used to be obsessed with football.
Yeah,
years
League
ago.
of Ireland's back end of July. Actually, that's great news for anyone that likes League of Ireland.
I'm sure we
Big
have a lot of
advantage
League
for
of Ireland fans in the chat right now. Who's your favourite League of Ireland team? Let us know in the chat.
Yeah, all our subscribers are Dundalk fans,
Yeah.
or should be
They
Dundalk
are
fans.
now. Sean will send you out some fucking shorts and stuff.
Increasing that American fan base in
Yeah.
the town.
Imagine that, just a sudden surge of American support for Dundalk. Mighty Mike, you have some great video essays on the channel. Do you plan to continue making any more of those in the future? Thanks very much. And yeah, I do have plans to do it. They just take a lot of work. Like between writing, voicing, and editing, it's a hell of a lot of work. And I've been writing a little bit for MMA on Point recently. You can check. I think not their most recent video, but the one before that I wrote. So you can check out some stuff if you enjoy that kind of thing. You check that out on MMA on Point channel. But yeah, I do plan on doing them in the future, but they just take a long time to do. And a lot of the time it's like, it's about something that's pretty contemporary. Like a lot of the ones that I've done were about like Ben Askren and Jorge Masvidal leading up to fights or coming out of fights. And if you don't get them edited and done pretty quickly, then they're not as relevant anymore. So if I can think of ideas that don't need to be as relevant to the current time, then that probably is the best way of doing it, because they take a long time to actually do. Editing is the shits. Take MMA out of that sport question, Sean.
Take MMA out of it. Jesus, probably boxing then.
Yeah, just go combat sports. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Anything
think
that
a
you
lot
get
of
your head thumped in.
yeah, I think if you're looking at like NFL, a lot of like there's a lot of skill to it, but like there's a lot of big dudes who are just like brute force.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think boxing probably.
Right, we'll fly through these last couple of questions and we'll get out of here. You're doing good, guys. Ignore the critics. Thank you, Grandma Glass. We already talked
Cheers,
about
man.
that. Let's say BT. Let's say BT to football, basketball, hockey, baseball. I don't know what he's talking about. All the major sports. Parrots are great pets. I disagree. My mate had a parrot and it used to shout at you.
Fucking annoying.
Oh, they used to shout at you and shit. They're cool, but communists are great pets.
I hate cats. I hate cats.
Kittens are cute, but cats...
Snaky little bastards. Don't like
Yeah,
them.
they are. And like when you walk on you and they like dig their nails into you and all.
Yeah, no, they're not nice.
Not great. But let's leave it there because we've gone probably over our time. But it was always fun. This was a fun one, Sean. And thanks as always for joining me. Enjoy the match later. Have United anything to play for?
Champions League qualification? Hopefully.
Well, I don't like United, so hopefully not. Sorry.
Leeds are playing tonight actually as well, Robert.
Yeah, I know. They are, yeah. Actually, they got a good win last weekend and a very important win because they lost their first match after the pandemic. So I was like, oh, here we go. Leeds, as usual. Just throw it away. But, that's a good sign. 3-0. Great stuff. Yeah. We'll see what happens. We might see us
from bottom tonight as well, so you never know.
Yeah, we might see us next season. And maybe that's when I get back into football.
Classic.
The return. Anyways, let's leave it there. Thanks everyone for joining the chat. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that stuff, and we'll see you next Tuesday.